When Ford debuted the Ecosport back in 2013, we went gaga over the way it looked and the way it drove. But as the years passed by and we got new products in the form of the Brezza, the Honda WRV and the Nexon, the Ecosport started showing its age. Now, well, Ford's got a solution for that and it wants to reintroduce some of the zing and the excitement of the original Ecosport. To do just that, they've got two big changes. But before we get to that, let's look at what's new on the outside. Changes to the design are most noticeable at the front. The sleek headlamps have been shown the door, and in its place are big, chunky units that make the Ecosport look angry. If you pick the top spec Titanium or Titanium Plus variant, you get halogen projectors and a sweet daytime running lamp setup. Then there's the new grille, which gets some neat hexagonal detailing. Of course, the hood has been resculpted to accommodate the new nose, and tying all of these elements together is the new redesigned bumper. The prominent skid plate, finished in dull silver, adds another dollop of muscle. The side sees no change save for the new 17-inch alloy wheel. The rear remains practically unchanged as well, but the rear bumper gets slightly revised detailing. Overall, the design is still quintessentially Ecosport. It still looks like a scaled-down SUV and not a blown-up hatchback. Right, now let's look at the first big update. Big change number one. The clutter on the dashboard has been replaced by a clean and simple layout that just works. The highlight, of course, is the new 8-inch touchscreen that gets Ford's new Sync 3 technology and Android Auto and Apple CarPlay. It's among the best touchscreen we've used, and touch response is really snappy. Of course, you get physical buttons for the infotainment, which means you do not have to take your eyes off the road to use it. Lower variants will get a 6.5-inch touchscreen, whereas the base spec version will get Ford's phone dock that'll let you dock your phone on the dash. What's also new is the steering wheel. It's borrowed from the Ford Focus. It's a meaty 3-spoke unit that's got nice contours at the 10 and 2 position, and it's got buttons for the cruise control and the speed limiter over your usual audio and calls. What I do not like though is the new instrument cluster. I think it looks a bit too plain Jane, and it could have definitely done with a bigger and a snazzier looking MID, if not anything else. Space inside the cabin isn't any different from the outgoing version. That means while you'd have not much to complain about in terms of knee room and headroom, width will be a problem. The Ecosport continues to be a 4-seater in our books. And Ford has chosen not to equip the Ecosport with a set of rear AC vents. But that's not too much of an issue, because Ford says that the AC is capable enough to cool the cabin from 50 to 25 degrees in 15 minutes. What really rounds off the experience inside the cabin of the Ecosport though are the little details. For instance, there's not one but 2 USB slots to juice up your phone. There's a 12-volt socket thoughtfully tucked away for the rear right passenger, along with a tray to park the phone in. Then there's configurable mood lighting as well. Rounding things off is the boot floor that can be adjusted for height. This not only ensures you get some secret underfloor storage, but ensures that the loading bay is flat when you flip the rear bench down. With the second row tucked away, you're looking at 1178 liters of space. That's quite a big number by compact SUV standards. That brings us to the second big update for the Ecosport. The confused engine lineup has finally been simplified, and boy are we glad. So you now get the choice of the good old 1.5 litre diesel and a brand new 1.5 litre petrol. Now, the diesel has remained unchanged, so we'll focus on the new petrol engine for this video. The 1.5 litre petrol engine is the first from Ford's new Dragon series. This 3-cylinder engine develops 123 PS of power and 150 Nm of torque. That's a healthy bump up of about 12 PS and 10 Nm over the old 1.5 litre 4-cylinder engine it replaces. Now the engine, it's silent and refined. Of course, there are a few vibrations that creep inside the cabin. When you start the car up, it is a 3-cylinder engine after all, but as you build speed, that settles down pretty quickly. This is a no fuss, no drama, plain commuter engine. Now the engine itself, it's got a very laid back nature and it takes its own sweet time to build speed. It also responds quite quickly to path throttle inputs, which means you can overtake moving traffic easily. What makes the drive calmer is the 6-speed automatic. Yes, the dual clutch transmission has been binned in favor of a conventional torque converter. But that's a step in the right direction. The DCT wasn't outright sporty or convenient, and more often than not it would be puzzled as to which cog to choose. But not this one. This one's tuned to sit frugally and it knows how to do one thing right. Take the sting out of day-to-day driving. If you drive with a light foot, the gearbox will upshift quite early. The shifts are smooth and there's none of that unpleasant jerkiness when it goes up or down the gears. But when you put the hammer down, that's where the gearbox stutters for a second before actually downshifting and giving you the acceleration that you need. Of course, you can take charge using the pedal shifters that are tucked behind the steering wheel, but the shifts aren't any quicker when you do that. If you're looking for something that's sporty, you might have to look elsewhere. So we're just happier leaving it in sport for those quick highway overtakes. Speaking of which, the motor is happy cruising and can hold triple-digit speeds quite easily. To get a move on quickly, bearing the right foot into the mat works just fine. And what complements the Ecosport's ease on the highway is its ride. With the update, Ford has also reworked the suspension bushes on the Ecosport to make the ride a bit more plush and a bit more forgiving. So does that mean that the ride's completely different now? Not really. It still has that stiff edge when you go over the rough stuff. But it isn't as harsh as, say, the Vitara Brezza, but at the same time it isn't as cushy as the Honda WRV either. What's appreciable is the silence the suspension works with. Potholes and broken roads are dispatched without a murmur. The stiff setup also means it doesn't roll too much in the bends. Once you do flick it into a corner, you'll realize that the electric power steering is rather well tuned. It's sharp and doesn't need frequent corrections to make the car hold its line. And even if you aren't bringing it through the twisties, the steering remains easy to use and precise. And that leaves us with the brakes. On the automatic, dabbing on the brakes gently didn't give us as much bite as we were hoping for, but prodding the pedal slightly more gave us all of it. So there is a bit of a learning curve to drive the automatic smoothly in bumper-to-bumper traffic. So has the Ecosport got its zing back? The answer to that is yes. The new elements do lend it that freshness that it desperately needed. But on the whole, the Ecosport remains that sensible compact SUV that we've come to love over the past few years. Now that means that it is still a car for 4, not 5. And if you're looking at something sporty, you'd probably have to pick the diesel. Not to take away from the new petrol engine though and the automatic transmission, because they're meant to deliver inside the city and they do that no questions asked. Now Ford is expected to price the Ecosport aggressively considering localization levels have gone higher, and to top it all off, Ford saying that the Ecosport is going to be the cheapest to maintain in its class. When you put all of that together, the Ecosport becomes a package that's impossible to ignore.